And we're back. All right, I'm talking about what the turtle, Mitch McConnell, and his totalitarian, enabling, sycophantic cohort, the Republican Party, did today. They took a vacation. They took a vacation. And they did not pass any new relief for American families. Please, during the campaign, when you hear there's these filthy Republicans, every one of them is a liar. I don't care if it's man or woman. They're all liars, the ones running for office for re-election. When you hear them talk about they are family oriented, you don't, honest to God, you don't still buy that, do you? I mean, the evidence is overwhelming that is a total lie. They don't give a damn about your family. Nothing. But they use that because they know the word family. Oh, family. Oh, Thanksgiving dinner, big turkey, dad slices it up. Grandma and grandpa have come from out in the country and they're gathered around the table with sis and brother and a couple of aunts and uncles. And here we all are, family. But the Republicans crap on families. They don't give a damn about families. Are you kidding me? And they show it with everything they do in the U.S. Congress. Every lie they tell. Every disgusting move they make that benefits the 1% and the rest of us can go screw. Ah, well. Back in March, when the Trump economy was failing, plunging into a bottomless pit because of the forced shutdowns to stop the spread of the Trump virus? Well, back then, lawmakers rallied around the idea that they were rushing to shore up the economy through a short-lived public health crisis. Oh, it'll be over very quickly, a couple of weeks. And they agreed to pass over $2 trillion in relief money. They called it stimulus money. It wasn't to stimulate anything. It was to keep people floating. It was relief money that they believed would see the nation through the next 3 months. That's when they hoped that the Trump pandemic would, as Trump said, disappear. In April, when the warmer weather comes, it'll just be gone. It'll just disappear. But now, with this surge in cases of this hideous disease, a lot of states are facing the reality that they should have faced to begin with, and they're reversing course and closing down restaurants and bars again. Not to mention other venues where people can go spend for shit that nobody needs. I'm not talking about groceries. You know what I'm talking about. We got to do that. We're Americans. If we don't spend, what is it, 60, 70% of the GDP, gross domestic product, comes from so-called consumer spending? We don't consume anything. We just transport it out of these big box stores or from Amazon or someplace. We transport it into our lives where we piss around with it for a while, and then it just gets thrown into a landfill or a dump, or it winds up in the ocean, or in India or in Lagos or someplace where shiploads of garbage and trash are offloaded every day for the people in those countries to pick through and try to make a living and blah, 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 blah. Consumers. We don't even consume food. We get the nutrients from it, but we just, our bodies are just pass-through devices, right? In this and out over there. But I digress. So the so-called lawmakers, the stumble bums and bastards who make up the Republican Party in the Senate and in the House, for that matter, they agreed to pass that $2 trillion in relief because their leaders said everything will be okay. It's going to disappear. It'll all be over come warm weather. But guess what? It didn't happen. So what is keeping the economic recovery from happening? If you have an economy that rests on the backs of consumers, so-called, to support 60 to 70% of it, and all of a sudden the so-called consumers aren't supporting it, what happens? That's right. Rumble, tumble, crash, boom. And that's what Trump has done. Because Trump was such an ignorant son of a bitch that at the beginning of this, rather than listening to the science, he never listens to science. Well, yeah, science. He goes with his large, bulbous, gas-filled gut. I go with my gut. Oh, Jesus. But if he would have listened, he would have picked up the reins of leadership. Did I just say that? Picked up the reins of leadership? Trump? The reins of... Oh, that's cute, Mike. The reins of leadership. Trump would have assumed the mantle of leader... Mantle? Trump would have conducted himself like a president of the United States if he was anything more than... He's not a half-wit. He's like a quarter-wit. He doesn't have the ability to lead. He never has. So we were like a 27-foot sailboat in a raging thunderstorm on Chesapeake Bay, let's say, or San Francisco Bay. And the rudder broke. Now what? That's Trump's ship of state, you might say. But he didn't lead. All he thought about was himself. Oh, God, economic meltdown. Oh, that's going to hurt me at the polls come November. Open everything up. Open it up. So here we are. The pandemic, the Trump virus, has outlasted, has it ever, those original relief efforts that the Congress passed. And what they've been doing in Washington since it became obvious, it became clear that this was not going to be over in April. Warm weather will take care of the virus. I mean, come off it. I bet Trump still believes that if you go outside without a coat on in the winter, you're going to get a cold. It's cold out, so you get a cold. Cold. Oh, God. But rather than facing what was so obvious, the Republicans in the Congress, in both the House and the Senate, have been doing everything they can to resist any effort by the Democrats to face this in a reality-based way. We've got to stop the spread of the virus. That means people have got to isolate, stay home, don't go to work, don't go to school, don't go shopping, for God's sake, don't go to bars. I know it's a pain in the ass. I know it's anti-American. It's almost something horrifyingly difficult to even think about, oh my goodness, I can't do anything or go anyplace. Yeah, that's awful, isn't it? But what is the alternative? So far, the alternative is 150,000 people dead, millions upon millions infected, the possibility of the death toll going up before a vaccine is ready to be injected into our arms or our butts, wherever it's going to be injected. And you anti-vaxxers, please stay away. Go someplace else. Just get the hell out of the way. Let us who believe in science cozy up to the needle, huh? You idiots. So the Republicans in Congress have been arguing over little shitty details. We don't want the people to get too used to free money. Free money? What the hell do you members of Congress, what do you Republicans live on? What are you doing to earn your pay, you scum? So the Republicans were just determined to avoid the blame for today's expiration of these enhanced unemployment benefits. And the Republicans, to try to avoid that, to avoid the reality that it's their fault that everything ran out, they've increasingly coalesced around the idea of trying to pass the short-term fix. Oh, here, we'll give it to you for another week. Oh, my God. So the worst economic news in economic history in this country since they started keeping records occurred Thursday. And that was the announcement that the American economy shrank at an annualized rate of almost 33% in the second quarter of 2020. A just unbelievable example of the pain being caused by the Trump virus. But wait. No, that wasn't the worst economic news of the week. That was on Thursday. Today is Friday. The really bad news was the lack of action by the Republicans in the House and the Senate. The Congress needed to extend the emergency aid programs that were created in March to help us. Instead, even as the Trump virus rages through the population, the Republicans are allowing those aid programs to expire. And they're also allowing to end a moratorium on evictions, as well as a program that provides aid to small businesses. This is what I said a few minutes ago. The Republicans either deliberately or inadvertently are setting up the conditions for violent reaction in this country. Maybe they're doing it on purpose. Push the American people to the point where they do explode. And then we'll bring in the troops and we'll get this settled once and for all. And when the smoke clears, we will have the kind of dictatorship that we have always wanted. We will have plantation capitalism. And anybody who doesn't want to be here, well, there's always up against the wall. You think? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to The Ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.